Imagine spending 40 years building an empire. 40 years of sweat, sacrifice, and showing up. 40 years of making the world believe you are untouchable. You became the face of action cinema. You made billions at the box office. You were the man every guy wanted to be, and the man every audience trusted to save the world. And then one morning, you wake up, and the words are gone. You open your mouth, and nothing comes out the way it's supposed to. You look at the people you love, and you can't always find their names. You don't even know something is wrong. This is not a story about a villain. This is not a story about failure. This is the story of Bruce Willis, Hollywood's greatest action hero, and the one fight he never trained for. Stay with me, because this one hits different. March 19th, 1955. A U.S. military base in Idar-Oberstein, West Germany. A baby boy is born to a working-class family. Father, a soldier. Mother, a bank worker. They name him Walter Bruce Willis. Nobody looked at that baby and thought, that's a future Hollywood legend. When the family moved back to Penn Grove, New Jersey, Bruce was just another kid trying to figure out the world. He was shy, quiet, uncomfortable in crowds. But there was one thing that made him especially different. He stuttered, badly. Every sentence was a battle, every conversation a source of embarrassment. Kids can be cruel, and Bruce felt that cruelty. But then, something happened. He got on a stage for a school play, and the moment the lights hit him, the stutter vanished, gone, like it was never there. Acting didn't just give Bruce Willis a career, it gave him his voice. After high school, Bruce didn't have a plan. He worked odd jobs, security guard, truck driver. He attended Montclair State University, studied drama, and then packed his bags and headed to New York City. New York doesn't care who you are. It doesn't owe you anything. And for a young kid with a stutter and no connections, it was brutal. He waited tables, he tended bar. He went to audition after audition. Rejection, rejection, rejection. Most people would have quit by year 2. Bruce stayed for years. And then in 1985, a TV show came calling, Moonlighting, a comedy drama where Bruce played a whisk-cracking private detective opposite Sybil Shepherd. The chemistry was electric, the wit was sharp, and Bruce Willis, this bartender from Jersey, suddenly had 60 million Americans tuning in every week. He won a Golden Globe, he won 2 Emmy Awards, but he had no idea what was coming next. 1988, a film hits theaters. One man, one building. 30-something terrorists, and a New York cop in a dirty white tank top who just wants to get back to his wife. Yippee-ki-yay. Die Hard. Critics didn't know what to do with it at first, but audiences, they lost their minds. Here was something nobody had seen before. Not a perfect superhero, not an invincible soldier, just a regular guy. Bleeding, sweating, scared, but still fighting. Bruce Willis didn't just play John McClane, he became him. Die Hard grossed over $140 million worldwide. It changed the action genre forever, and Bruce Willis became one of the biggest stars on the planet overnight. The sequels kept coming. Die Hard 2, Die Hard with a Vengeance. Together, the first 3 films made over $700 million internationally. But Bruce wasn't content to be just an action star. He pushed himself. Pulp Fiction in 1994, Tarantino's masterpiece. Bruce held his own against some of the greatest actors of a generation. 12 Monkeys in 1995, he earned an Oscar nomination. The Fifth Element in 1997, a sci-fi classic. Armageddon in 1998, one of the highest-grossing films of the decade. And yes, we all cried at that ending. The Sixth Sense in 1999, I See Dead People. That twist, that final scene, if you didn't see it coming, you weren't alone. By the end of the 1990s, Bruce Willis wasn't just a movie star. He was a cultural institution. But who was Bruce Willis when the camera stopped? In 1987, he married actress Demi Moore. Hollywood called them the golden couple. Glamorous, powerful, magnetic. They had 3
daughters, Rumor, Scout, Tallulah. For a while, it seemed perfect, but Hollywood marriages come under enormous pressure. And in 2000, after 13 years, Bruce and Demi divorced. It was the kind of split that could have turned ugly. Instead, it became something rare. Both of them chose their children over their pride. They stayed connected. They stayed family. And in 2009, Bruce found love again. He married Emma Hemming, a model, an activist, a woman who would later become his greatest protector. 2 more daughters arrived, Mabel and Evelyn. 5 daughters total. 2 families blended into one. A man surrounded by love. He had everything, and none of it could protect him from what was coming. Before the announcement, before the diagnosis, before the world knew anything, people close to Bruce started noticing things. On film sets, he seemed confused. Lines that he should have memorized weren't there. He needed earpieces to feed him dialogue. His daughter Tallulah later wrote about it in Vogue magazine. She said she noticed a vague unresponsiveness in her father years before anyone had a name for what it was. She thought he had lost interest in her. She took it personally. She had no idea it was his brain. Emma noticed his speech changing, but Bruce had always had that childhood stutter, so she thought it was just that. Never in a million years would I think it would be a form of dementia for someone so young, she later said. Neurological exams, brain scans, cognitive tests. Doctors searched for answers. And in the meantime, Bruce kept working. Lower budget films, straight to video. Critics were ruthless. They mocked him. The Razzies, Hollywood's worst film awards, even created a special category for Bruce Willis. What nobody knew, he was already sick. The Razzies later retracted the award. They called it inappropriate. They apologized. But the damage had been done to a man who had no control over what was happening to his own mind. March 30th, 2022, a statement is posted across social media, signed by Bruce's entire family. Demi Moore, Emma Hemming Willis, Rumer, Scout, Tallulah, Mabel, Evelyn, all of them, together. The statement read, "To Bruce's amazing supporters, as a family, we wanted to share that our beloved Bruce has been experiencing some health issues and has recently been diagnosed with aphasia, which is impacting his cognitive abilities. As a result of this, and with much consideration, Bruce is stepping away from the career that has meant so much to him. Aphasia, a condition where the brain's language center breaks down. Speaking becomes difficult, understanding words, difficult, reading, writing, communicating, all of it taken away. Hollywood went quiet. Fans around the world, speechless. The man who had delivered some of cinema's most iconic lines could no longer reliably speak. Bruce Willis retired from acting. At 66 years old, his career was over. Not by choice, by disease. But the story wasn't over. It got harder. February 16th, 2023, another statement from the family. The aphasia had a cause, a specific, devastating cause. Frontotemporal dementia, FTD, a progressive neurological disease that attacks the frontal and temporal lobes of the brain, the areas that control personality, behavior, and language. There is no cure. There is no medication that slows it down. Doctors can only manage the symptoms. They cannot stop what's coming. FTD is actually the most common form of dementia in people under 60. And perhaps the cruelest detail of all, Bruce Willis does not know he has dementia. Emma confirmed it. He is not aware of his diagnosis. He lives in a world where something is different, but he doesn't have the language to understand what. And yet, in the middle of all this darkness, there is something that shines. Emma Hemming Willis gave up everything to care for her husband. In September 2025, she published her memoir, The Unexpected Journey, a brutally honest account of what it means to watch someone you love disappear, piece by piece, while still finding reasons to love them more. She said this, "When you show up to meet them where they're at, there is great beauty and sweetness." Demi Moore, his ex-wife, showed up too, not for the cameras, not for the headlines, just for Bruce.
For the children, for the family. On his 70th birthday in 2025, Demi posted a photo with the caption, "Quality time with our BW." His daughters, all 5 of them, visit, share meals, hold his hand. Tallulah, Rumer, Scout, they grieve openly so that others know they are not alone. Mabel and Evelyn, still so young, are learning what it means to love someone through the hardest kind of goodbye. In August 2025, Emma made the most painful decision of her life as a caregiver. She moved Bruce into a separate single-story home, designed specifically for his care needs, close enough that family could visit every day. She said, "Bruce would want that for our daughters. He would want them to be in a home that was tailored to their needs, not his." Even now, even through the silence,
Bruce Willis is protecting his family. We grew up watching Bruce Willis save the world, on skyscrapers, on asteroids, in the afterlife. He was the guy who always made it out. But real life doesn't have screenwriters. Real life doesn't have a director who yells cut when things get too painful. Real life gave Bruce Willis a villain that no one has ever beaten. And still, he is surrounded by 5 daughters who love him, 2 women who chose family over ego, a world full of fans who never stopped caring. Maybe that is the ending. Not perfect, not triumphant, but full of love. And maybe that's the only ending that ever really mattered. If this story moved you, hit that like button, subscribe because we tell the stories that deserve to be told, and drop a comment. What's your all-time favorite Bruce Willis film? See you in the next one.